Hey, guys. We're here at the locker room. This is Toxic Reign Scandal. We'll talk about what Triple H tore his quads twice. We'll talk about when lightning struck twice for Triple H. The first injury he sustained of his quad was the left quad in 2001 when he was tag team with Stone Cold Steve Austin when they were then tag team champions on the episode of Monday Night Raw, May 21st, where he was held in the Walls of Jericho despite being hurt, but he first got hurt when he stopped the Walls of Jericho when he had on Stone Cold Steve Austin. He will go on to get surgery and then return in 2002. Then it's just crazy because Triple H continued on the match. That's how much of a soldier that he is. Now, also, he had his second quad injury on his right one this time. Again, in a tag team, this is when at the New Year's Revolution pay-per-view, when he's with DX with Shawn Michaels, fighting against Rated RKO for the World Tag Team Champions. He hurt himself when he did the spine buster on Randy Orton. He would again go get surgery. Triple H is quoted saying that 2007 was his worst injury. But soon we'll hear interviews with Chris Van Fleet. We'll hear from Triple H on Talking Jericho.
In that spot that was supposed to happen.
So I think that match was voted the greatest match in Raw history for the first 10 years of Raw or something like that. First of all, the sad thing is it doesn't exist anymore because Benoit is in it.
Wow.
But it was such a fucking great match. And the crowd in Sacramento, whichever, I think it was, I don't want to get it wrong because people will jump on me. I think it was San Jose. And crowd was insane, and it was Jericho and Benoit versus Austin and Triple H, and Steve and Tripp were the fucking heels. It was for the tag team titles, and we had this match going, and the crowd was just biting on everything. And it was back in the old WWE trope at the time was like 1, 2, someone pulls the referee out, the next referee runs down, 1, 2, you knock this referee out, you hit this guy with the belt, you cover, the first ref comes back in, 1, 2, kick out. And I remember I had Steve in the Walls of Jericho, and Triple H was supposed to break it up, and meanwhile the crowd's just like and I put him in the walls, just, and he came from behind to hit me, and I remember like he hit me really light, and Triple H and I did not like each other back in those days, but we always had great matches. We're totally cool now. We're friends at this point, but we always had great fucking matches. I think because there was a rivalry between us. Like, fuck this guy, he ain't so great. Well, fuck that guy, he's not so good. Both of us were good, really good. And so he hit me from behind, but it was very light. And I was like, that's not like him. And then I saw him kind of fall down and roll out. And then there's a couple other things that happened. And then I end up on the floor. Steve and Chris are still in the ring. And I'm supposed to go over to Triple H and put him in the Walls of Jericho on the announce table.
Yeah.
And so I go out and he goes, I'm hurt. I'm like, he goes, I think I tore my quad. I'm like, what do you want to do? He goes, the spot. I'm like, okay. So I put him in the walls, and if you watch, like, dude, the dude's a fucking beast, because when you tear your quad, it rolls up like a window drape. Like,
wow.
So I'm putting him in this Walls of Jericho, and like I'm trying to keep his legs as straight as possible, but I'm sure it didn't feel good at all. So we do that, and then he's got to go back in the ring again with the sledgehammer and hit. I think he's going to hit Benoit, who's pinning Steve, and Benoit moves and he hits Steve, and then I do the moonsault and 1, 2, 3. He did everything. He didn't miss a spot, you know. And then I remember afterwards, it sucked because it was one of the greatest matches I've ever had. And 1, it doesn't exist anymore. And 2, we couldn't celebrate it because we came into the back and it was just fucking pandemonium because Triple H was hurt and everyone was somber because he knew he was going to be out for a long time. And it was a drag because when you have a match like that, you want to sit back and go, boys, we did it. Like, what a match. And have everyone come and give you your flowers. And, you know, we didn't get to do that. We didn't get to enjoy the match that we had just had.
A lot of respect for each other because we had a lot of great matches together.
Absolutely.
But that was the one where you tore your quad. I'm looking at the scar right now, and I remember thinking, this dude is one of the toughest dudes I've ever been in the ring with in my life. Because you finished that match with a torn quad. Yeah. You came back in the ring to make the save with the sledgehammer. You took the walls on the. I mean, that was incredible, man.
I remember telling you, like, coming out, you said, "Oh my God, are you okay?" And I was like, "Absolutely not." Like, I couldn't even put weight on it. But I was like, whatever I've done, I don't think I'm gonna make it any worse. So I was like, put the walls on me. And when you did, I remember you turning me over and thinking, really bad decision. like holy.
Because I tried to even keep. I mean,
No,
you
and
can't keep a
did
leg.
the
I
best you
tried,
could,
but I
man,
remember
to
saying,
try to protect me. Yeah, but
"Should we do this?" You're like, "Do it," and I was
yeah.
like, "Oh man."
And then I was like you. I remember you putting me down on the table. I had to go back in to do the spot. And I was like,
I don't know how you got back
wow,
in.
yeah, like, oh my God, am I going to be able to get up to the ring? And I was like, I gotta go.
Yeah.
Like, it didn't, you know how that's so fast, but
Right,
yet it
right,
seems
right,
like
right.
it's going slow. And I was just not like thinking about it. And then I remember rolling to the floor and just curling up in a fetal position.
Yeah.
And just coming out and saying, "What'd you do?" And I said, "I tore my quad." And because I felt it when it went, man, I felt it just roll up to my hip.
Really?
Yeah. And I said, "I tore my quad. I think I tore my quad." And he said, "No way. You couldn't have. You couldn't have. You couldn't be walking on it." And I said, "Chris, I'm telling you." And he put his hand in there and was like, "Wow, you did."
This is Chris the trainer.
Yeah, he could feel the divot and stuff. Yeah, man, that's one of those things. Like for me, immediately once you tear your quad, you forget how good the match is. And I remember I didn't see it for a long time, and then like I don't know, I was in rehab one time or something, and I think the office had sent me a tape of it, VCR tape or something.
Yeah.
And I remember watching it back and like getting into the match so much that I forgot at the end I tore my quad, and I went down. I was like, oh my God, I just hurt myself. Oh yeah, I tore, you know what I mean? Like I was so the match was so good. But
Yes.
to your point, 4 guys top of their game that just.
The crowd was so excited too. They
Yeah.
wanted to see us win so bad,
Yeah.
and when we did, and just because the match was so great, and that was one of those times that we deserved to sit there, the 4 of us with a beer,
Absolutely.
toasting, and we didn't get that
Yeah.
because we had to go into the room, and you were. I mean, it's
Yeah.
the worst thing seeing one of your brothers
I
on
know.
the table
Yeah, it's the worst.
after this great match, but
Yeah.
it's like it's not great because you got hurt, and it's like, oh man, I just wish we would have had that moment.
Just pulls
go,
the rug out from
"Fuck
under.
dude."
Yeah, it was the greatest
You know?
thing ever. And
Yeah.
I when I watch it back, I remember thinking that same thing. Like, oh man, like this will sound stupid. I felt bad watching it that day. I remember distinctly sitting in my room in Birmingham as at the Embassy Suites and still going through my rehab and watching it back, and I felt bad. Like, oh man, I can't believe I robbed those guys of like that feeling.
Yeah.
Like that's because that's what you live for. Like
That's
when you
right.
go back and
That
you're like,
magic moment.
"Woo, of all that."
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I remember feeling bad, like, oh man, I can't. Because in my mind, I remember everybody coming in the room, and oh, dude,
And Vince
and everybody
too,
being
and-
down and a bummer, and then like in my mind somehow I was like, that was all on me. Like I killed the whole buzz.
Yeah, because we were like, I was
You
like,
know?
oh, it's probably not bad. What's a torn quad? Is that like 4 to 6? It's like, no, that's about 8 months.
So here's another thing. I remember coming up the ramp, and as we were getting the top of the ramp, thinking I was doing the math in my head. 4 months rehab, and I was trying to think, can I be back for Mania? Could I be back for that was my whole
For Mania, right?
my whole mentality of like, could I? Because it was like May that I did it, but I was thinking like, man, could I don't think SummerSlam's an option, but I know I could probably come back for later. I didn't know how bad it was, and I didn't know Andrews was going to come to me and go like, yeah, you might never wrestle again.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
I didn't know all that at the time. So in my mind, I was just thinking, okay, I tore my quad. They reattach it. I know there's a time frame to that, so they reattach that thing and they do the business. So I'm just trying to do the math. When I got there, that's why I never left Birmingham.
You just stayed there the whole time.
I lived in the Embassy Suites for 9 months.
Wow.
Yeah.
Just to rehab every day.
Andrews came, told me that, and then did the surgery and stuff. And he said, "Here's the thing. I don't know anybody's ever come back from this, from the level that you did it. I've never seen a contact sport athlete come back from this. So if you do, it's going to be awesome, and it's going to be easy. I put it back together. It's back together as good as it can go. But now it's on your rehab." And I said, "Wow. So what does that mean?" And he said, "If I were you, I'd stay with the best." So I was like,
That's me, yeah.
done, right? Because Kevin Wilk was there, and he's the best guy in the world. So I was like, all right, so done. So I called the office and was like, I need to stay down here. Like they were saying I might never wrestle again. So I got to stay here to rehab. And they were like, done. Stay where you're at. I live in the Embassy Suites.
Your patient will probably need surgery, either to repair the tendon complex or to reattach the tendon complex, because if they don't have that extensor mechanism intact, they're going to be unable to weight bear at all. Now, I have to be honest, the road to recovery is quite extensive and long following that surgery. First of all, your patient is likely to be in a hinged knee brace for the first 6 to 8 weeks, which might be locked at 0 degrees extension in order to limit the amount of bending they can do at their knee. Because if the knee does bend too early and it elongates the tendon, it reduces that tendon's tensile strength in the future. What you may commonly find is that physiotherapy can allow us to try and get gradual increases in knee flexion from week 6 onwards, which is when the hinged knee brace may be removed. Your consultant may aim for something like 90 degrees of knee flexion after 10 to 12 weeks and may not want full flexion of the knee until around 20 weeks post-surgery. I've even seen some consultants who, once the patient has got to something like 120 degrees, they may say, don't bother pushing any further. Enough is enough. Now, of course, the patient's weight bearing will also be affected too. You may find that in the first 4 weeks following their surgery, the patient may be advised to non-weight bear at all. And then between weeks 4 and 6, they'll be able to weight bear, but only with the hinged knee brace in place and with the knee locked at full extension. After 6 weeks, and providing the patient is able to demonstrate enough quadricep strength, it might be that at that stage the brace is removed and the patient can start partially weight bearing before gradually moving themselves on to fully weight bearing under consultant guidance. And then in terms of rehab, as you can imagine, it's going to be about quads, and more quad strengthening. So in the early stages, we might be working on exercises like a straight leg raise movement with our patient and a static quadriceps contraction, particularly because the brace is on and locked in that fully extended position. Once range of movement is allowed to progress towards 90 degrees flexion, you may consider something like an inner range quadriceps movement or sit to stand exercises if your patient can weight bear sufficiently. As time goes on, further down the line, we start progressing to single leg activity, perhaps something like single leg standing with reaching, or perhaps some single leg calf raises. And from there, we gradually progress to include more flexion activities like lunges, like squats, and like a leg press, all of which we can build up the amount of weight we use as we go. So guys, it has to be said, management of quadriceps tendon and patella tendon ruptures can be long, but as physios, it's an amazing injury to treat because you can really help your patient get incredible results. So if you've enjoyed this video, please support us.
We heard interviews with Triple H on Talking Jericho, Chris Jericho and Chris Van Fleet, and clinical physio on the treatment and rehab of when you tear your quadricep. But Triple H, like I said, soldier, one of the best ever to do it. The crazy that when he tore both his left and right quads, he continued on both matches. Amazing. And that's all I have regarding with Triple H tore his quads twice. We'll talk about light struck twice with Triple H. You guys let me know what you think of these injuries. Soon 2 videos will pop up. You guys already know what it is. It is OUT.